and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, I wanted to have a chat with you regarding Tamiya. Now, about a month and a half ago, Tamiya Legends basically put up a video of his feelings in regard to what Tamiya are currently doing from a product release point of view. So it was quite an interesting video, and I've had time to think about it, so I thought I would post my own personal feelings. Obviously, being a big Tamiya fan from way back in the day. So basically he covered things like there's a lot of people waiting for vintage cars to be re-released. Now, I've worked for a lot of Japanese companies and American companies and things like that, and I understand business reasonably well. So obviously you've got the side of cost of manufacture versus units sold. So you could argue Tamiya won't release a Falcon because they expect to only sell 3,000 units. And 3,000 units to basically retool and produce this car, divided by that amount gives you how much each car, plus how much they've got to sell it, distribute it and things like that. So a lot of people would argue back that, oh, well, we cannot produce this car because we'll only sell 400 units, say, whatever. So what happens in the market is you have this, it's not quite enough to manufacture, but there's a lot of people that want it. So how do you get around this? So if this is the case, why Tamiya will not release things like the 959, the Falcon, the Vanquish or the Lancia, things like that, why doesn't Tamiya set up a division for vintage? Porsche does this for its old 911s, granted that's real world cars and not models, but Tamiya could produce a whole vintage division that basically services its vintage collection. So what could it do? Well, why doesn't it not just have a website that says to get to a profitable run for the Falcon, we need to have 4,000 units plus. Then put up a website that everybody can put a deposit on it. When it hits 4,000, they do a production, but they don't do a production of 4,000, they do a production of 5,000 or 6,000, but it covers most of their risk. That would be really easy, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to. You can even take it from a business point of view that you basically have to sign up to become a Tamiya vintage account so that you can actually purchase things. So they could do it for lots of different things, for cars, for parts. Now, a classic example is if you take the Astute. Now, the Astute was re-read, which was fantastic, and they fixed a few things and then they brought out the re-re. The thing that they did, which was, I think was a good thing, was they actually made it slightly different. So it's like the next evolution of this car. But that left a lot of people trying to run old vintage ones with the problem of you cannot get stickers, you cannot get front tyres. Front tyres for this car are going for about £45 for 2 front tyres because you cannot get these tyres. Now, if I was a businessman and I'm looking at these stickers going for £70, £80 and these cost pence to make, why doesn't Tamiya just release them? You've got the artwork, you own them, you could put it up and you could sell these for £25. You telling me the markup from a penny to £25 is not a good business model? And then people can actually keep running these cars. So there's no real reason why they cannot release these cars and parts and things like that. And obviously when they re-release things like a blue version of this and a red version of this, you know, you can get a special edition version of this in pink or green or whatever. It's very easy from a business point of view. Basically, you're just changing the plastic in the machine and you just bang out through the dies as normal. So we understand that. But come on, you know, you can't just go, we're bringing out a blue one and a yellow one, and you know, there's cars that people are desperate to get hold of. The Falcon, there is so many people that write me messages and are interested in my Falcons, and they all want one, but they can't pay the kind of money that these demand. And if you want a set of wheels for this, if you want to have a nice one, you know, I mean, there's other companies that are producing Riri bodies and Riri stickers. Thank God, because if they weren't going out and producing bodies and stickers and things like that that we can use, we would have cars that are just not finished. You'd have a Falcon with no body. You know, here's a classic example. I've just restored this Vanquish in my last video. This is a reproduction body and reproduction stickers. If Tamiya had their way, I would have no body. So what would I do then? And then to get these cream wheels, I have to pay through the roof. Whereas I would rather pay less but give it to Tamiya to produce these wheels than the market of people driving up prices. You know, a classic example. And there's so many people that would love to have one of these, but they're so fragile you can't run it because they're just too expensive to repair or replace. So you end up with them sitting on the shelf. If you reread this Tamiya, I would have one of these tomorrow and one of these tomorrow, and I would have one of these tomorrow because I would love to be able to run them. Also, when you do re-release them, all the vintage cars have the parts available, so it goes back into restoring some of the older ones, like the Boomerang that was just released. So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, and you know, if you take into account companies like this, the you know, Traxxas, they're coming along with some amazing, this is an amazing truck, and things like that that are just taking more and more of your market away from you. Now these aren't better cars, this is bomb-proof, whereas these are very fragile. But we don't mind, they have character. They have you know, so much more to give with the history and things like that, and they're great, and they're not just about buying an off-the-shelf thing, sticking a battery in it and driving it. You have to put effort into these, and as you have to put effort, they become yours. So come on, Tamiya. Also, another thing that I've found a lot with Japanese companies is they don't really understand the value of media, online media like YouTube and websites and things like that. Now, I'm not saying Tamiya should come and knock on my door and say to me, Gavin, we want to work with you. You know, you've got 1,500 subscribers. Wow, that's not what I mean. What they could do though is there's a very few people that are very Tamiya orientated. Why can't we just have access to purchase with our own money the kits, so we have them on the day of release, so that we can do our videos, so we can show you guys? But we don't even have that. There is no communication with Tamiya and myself or a few other Tamiya websites, which is a real shame because it doesn't cost Tamiya anything. So everything you see here is funded by myself. You know, I don't get sponsored by Tamiya, I don't get new things sent to me by Tamiya, I don't have little ways of getting hold of things like this. I buy them just like you guys do. So it's a bit of a shame, and I just expect a little bit more from Tamiya, to be quite honest with you. And it'll be a shame because in another 30 years time people won't remember these. It'll all be about these and the 100-mile-an-hour versions that you can buy. Whereas the art of actually painting a body and putting your own stickers on it or doing your own colours and things like that will be gone. It'll just be buy it off the shelf, stick a battery in it, go 80 mile an hour. Anyway, I'll stop ranting. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one.